This is a pretty important night for the Ashfield Sports Club, and our board are all here. So our board are wearing the red jackets. You might see them around the place. We have Sean Kelly, who's our secretary. We have Tess Smythe, who is our treasurer. We have Lindsay, who's our head of our women's state women's division as well, and Bill Busby, who is our club president. I'm going to hand you now over to a man who needs no introduction to most of you. That's Mitch, the apprentice. So Mitch, it's over to you.
Thanks, Bill. Can everyone hear me? Yes. Just a short intro. I'd just personally like to thank everyone for attending tonight. I've contacted probably 99% of the room myself, so I really appreciate you turning up tonight. I'm not going to go into the details that will be presented soon, but I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank Phil and also Andy Osborne for the opportunity. What we're prepared to deliver is, I'd say, unprecedented in Perth, in WA, and it's a chance to hopefully deliver something that can really improve grassroots football. That's the main objective. I'm not going to go into it any further, but once again, thank you for turning up. It's nice to see a few old faces and some new faces, and yeah, have a good listen to what we're prepared to offer. Thank you.
Thanks, Mitch. My name's Andy Osborne, by the way, so I'll be doing the first part of the evening and presenting the details. Can everyone hear me okay? Yeah, great, thanks. So thanks, Bill, for welcoming to the Sports Club. Thanks, Mitch, for welcoming the audience. And thank you for coming tonight. You're all here because you've been invited to attend. We haven't actually advertised this event anywhere. And you've been invited to attend because our academy coaches, they know of your kids and they'd like them to be part of this exciting project. Your kids have been identified by our coaches as some of the best talent in WA with the best potential. We'll start by giving you a short presentation just to explain the problems with junior development here in Australia as it currently stands. We'll tell you more about NPL and the NPL structure. We want to spend this evening dispelling some of the myths around NPL, that it's the best for your kids' development, and give you a real value for money alternative to the inconsistent club hopping merry-go-round that NPL has created. We'll tell you who we are, and we'll explain our plan for the Ashfield Academy. After the presentation, we'll pass the microphone around the room and we will answer any questions that you may have. If you do receive text during this presentation, don't worry, that's just from us. All the reference material that we're referring to here in our presentation will be texted to you so you can read the full articles, the full details later on in the comfort of your own homes. So why are we doing this? Why are we setting up the Ashfield Academy? Well, there is a problem with junior development in this country, and we want to fix it. We can sit here and tell you that there are problems, but who are we? You are probably sat there, and some of you probably are aware of some of the problems. But let's hear from some important people that also know there are problems. Our governing body, the FFA, recently appointed a new technical director. His name's Rob Sherman. About 3 or 4 weeks ago, Rob and the FFA published an article, and here are some of the things that our new technical director, national technical director, is saying. So Rob said, when I look at overseas models, I see elite youth players experience a development environment that Australian clubs are struggling to match. In countries like Japan, Belgium, Germany, players train and play in world-class environments by accredited youth development coaches over a 40-week season. We need to create an environment that enables young Australian footballers to develop into world-class players. World's best practices often means football clubs with strong academy structures, which underpins their club's recruitment, which in turn enhances the playing pool in Australia and also national team selection. The article goes on, it'll be on your phone shortly, you can read it later, but basically says they formed a committee, they'll report back in September. then they'll consult the NPL clubs. This is likely to take a while. There's no guarantee they'll get it right. Me personally, I have little faith in the FFA or Football West that they will get it right, but the essence of the article is important. The FFA say there's a problem. Football Federation Victoria. Recently, Peter Falopoulos, the new CEO, well new, he's been there for about a year now. He used to be the CEO of Perth Glory. He came on the Let's Talk Football radio show, and in it he said a few things about the changes that they're making for 2020 in the junior NPL structure in Victoria. So what they're going to do is they're going to expand the junior NPL competition, so it's not just 22 games, it's 33. They're going to expand the competition to 40 teams. To do that, they're going to be inviting non-NPL teams into that division. Now, some of the conditions or some of the criteria for these new non-NPL clubs are things like that they have to have ground space available for 12 months. They need to deliver 40-week programs. They're not to be shared with other codes, other sports. And just to give you an example, if Ashfield were in Victoria, we'd be one of the clubs they'd be interested in getting part of that competition because we satisfy all those criteria. Important thing is, Football Federation Victoria have recognised there's a problem. There's a problem that the seasons are too short, and they're doing something about it. So Football West, let's talk about them. Sharif Andrews, he's the new chair of Football West. He was elected probably about 4 or 5 months ago. He also came onto a radio show called the World Football Programme. Sharif was asked a couple of questions. We'd just like to play you a couple of clips of those.
Absolutely. Now, I have a question from a listener.
Yep.
And it's about the junior NPL, and I think they say that this should be one of the most important items on the board's agenda. There's a lot of talk on the social media about media in club rooms and training and sessions around the state. Much of this talk is unfortunately driven by self-interest, the haves, the have-nots, those that want in and those that want everybody else out. The quality versus quantity debates, and there's so many things going on in that area, and everybody of course knows what the best solution is. The only thing that everybody does agree on is what we currently have isn't working. Do you have any thoughts on that at all?
I can't disagree with that at all. I think that what we have can be improved and should be improved, and I think that we need to look at it in a very holistic manner. And I think that there's certainly ways we can improve it. What they are, we don't know. And as that question quite rightly said, everyone's got a different view on that, but that's something that's certainly on our agenda.
So the new chair of Football West accepts there's a problem, accepts that it can be improved, but doesn't really know what to do about that. There's another clip here.
So just talking about the accreditation and the costing, and saying that the Football West FFA fees themselves are fairly modest, but the clubs seem to be, I'm not saying gouging, but there seems to be a lot of costs involved.
Yeah, to play the sport. It becomes, how do we make our game more affordable at the highest level? It's a tough one.
That's a big issue, certainly.
Yeah.
I absolutely agree.
Yeah.
Absolutely agree. I mean, the thing you want to do is to make sure that football's accessible to everyone who wants to play.
Yep.
And then across that, like with anything else, you've got a level of services. You can pay for a Rolls-Royce service, or you can pay for a Hyundai service. And Hyundai's very good, actually. Probably major sponsors, aren't they?
Yes.
So you basically make your choices as a parent if you've got juniors. But I think the most important thing is transparency and knowing what you get for your money and why you're paying extra. And then you've got the choice and you can pay that. And if you want to pay top dollar, and that's your choice, really.
I think it's a good thing for all clubs to actually put up on their notice board when you play at this club, your fees are this much, and these are the allocations from your fees and where they go.
I think transparency is really important. Then parents can make the choice and they can see where their money goes.
That's one thing I do agree with Sharif on. Transparency of finances is very important. We'll be talking about finances a little bit later in this presentation, and which we'll go through them with you. Fox Sports, Max Sherry, he's a journalist at Fox Sports. Recently he published an article in which he presents his personal experience of the failing junior development system here in Australia. The full article's on your phone, or will be. But what he says, in the wake of the recent news that the FFA is set to relinquish the control of the A-League, once hopeful footballers of my age are surely asking, why didn't this happen earlier? It seems that football in this country is finally free from the grips of the FFA, a grip so firm that it's been choking the production line of up-and-coming talent. So whether your dreams are to play in the A-League or to get picked up by a foreign scout, it's thrusted upon you that you must play for an NPL side. If you don't, you have no hope. Now, the NPL is the top level of football in Australia, under the A-League, of course, but being the top level doesn't necessarily mean it's the top standard. Max goes on, as I sit here and write, it's apparent that I didn't make it, and neither did many of those I played with here in Australia make it either. Yet some of them were as good as the kids I played with in the academies in the UK. There was plenty of young, hungry teenagers whose talents I saw go to waste, players with natural ability and an abundance of raw talent. It's easy to point the finger when it comes to wasted talent, injuries, losing interest, discovery of alcohol, those kind of things. But in this case, I am going to point the finger. Kids fell out of love with the system, not the game. There's no other way of putting it. Now, these are Max's personal experiences, and I'm sure his views are shared and echoed by thousands of players that have gone through the system and now have come out of the system and have been let down by that. Let's hear from an A-League player. So this is Milos Ninkovic, an article that was published on Tuesday this week. He goes on to say, if you look at A-League teams, they don't really give chance to enough young players, which is really bad. When I played in the Ukraine, if they had a young Ukrainian player, even if they weren't that good, they would give him every game. I really think every club in the A-League needs to give more chances to young players, because otherwise the Australian national team will have a big problem on their hands. Now, does anyone see the irony in this? He's a foreign player who's only playing here in Australia because we don't give enough chance to our own kids. He's recognised this and he's brave enough to say it. Okay, moving on, a bit more local now. Chris Barbas, some of you may or may not know him. He's currently the under-18s coach at Bayswater City. He also appeared on a radio show just a couple of weeks ago. He's talking about the under-18 side of Bayswater. Just recently they won the local FFA Cup, I think, here in WA. So let's hear what Chris had to say.
It's a tough one when you look at Bayswater being such a
powerful side,
not just powerful but a side demanding excellence. It's a tough gig when you come from an area where Bayswater weren't strong in the juniors. They've had to work hard on that area, and getting these results in the what I call the feeder area, that's got to look good for the future, and the job well done by the committee in getting the juniors back on track.
Oh, look, it's been a big, huge success this year. We've had some great coaches come in, and, the results speak for themselves. So it all does them for a good future, to come. So hopefully with the success the junior setup has had this year, and even last year, we've started to improve. And this year, we've seen the rich pickings of, successful 13s, 14s, 15s and 16s. So it all stems well for, the club.
So Chris was mentioning the success of the junior programme at Bayswater. I just wanted to remind anyone that's not currently involved with Bayswater. The last couple of years, Mitch Prentice, our guy over there, was the technical director and also head coach of a couple of teams there. So Mitch has actually been heavily involved in creating the programme at Bayswater, which is now reaping rewards. Chris went on to say something else as well.
I don't think players would, they need to be realistic and at least be playing at a level and being, healthy and staying in a football family environment. It can be good for anyone. And so I don't think they don't need to strive to be the best player and earn the biggest money, but be playing at a competitive level and get the recognition that the football is getting nowadays, which, in our days wasn't as big, but now it's sort of, it's learning, it's getting better. There's a lot more sports science involved in clubs now, so it's taking baby steps, but it's never going to reach you're never going to reach the pinnacle of being a professional footballer to earn big money out of playing in WA anyway.
He's probably right. He's probably right because he's talking about the current system that we have for developing talent in this country right now. At Ashfield, our programme will allow players to develop to a professional standard, not a semi-professional standard, so we've got ambitions. Just like to take a quick show of hands here. I can see a lot of players in the room, I can see a lot of parents in the room. How many, hands up, go to private coaching sessions over and above the club that they are currently signed up for? Alright, so say probably about 25, maybe 30% in the room. I've got my hand up too, by the way. So I just want to tell you a few of my experiences about being an NPL parent of an under-13s player. These may well be shared with you. You may have experienced some of this as well. So last year, under-12s, I started looking around for something available that would satisfy my kid's drive and determination, because he lives and breathes football. Now, all I could find was each club did 2 sessions, possibly 3 over a 22-week season, and it just wasn't enough. The coaching, the quality of the coaching is inconsistent, and this annual merry-go-round of juniors as they desperately try out for the best NPL clubs was not really conducive to maximising the development and allow him to be the best player he could possibly be. So I did what some of you have done, and I started to look around, and I started to cobble together a programme, a training schedule for my boy. I wasn't pushing him, he wanted to do this himself, I just facilitated that. So, and I tried to fill in the gaps left by the current coaching structure, NPL structure that we have. So I got him into a private coaching session with Mitch Prentice, as luck would have it, and that's how I met Mitch. He was also accepted into the Football West programme. So he gets 2 sessions a week with a private coach, 2 nights with his NPL club, 1 night with Football West. It's 9 hours of training, including game time, but 8 hours in the car. So I was trying to put together. Each week it probably cost. Each year it probably cost me about $3,500 to $4,000 for all of those things. So it's quite expensive, and that doesn't include petrol costs, of course. So, but my son gets the hours that he needs, but he's not getting it consistently. He's in front of probably about 4 or 5 different coaches each week. He's not going to achieve anything in that environment. So I've come to realise that there are many parents doing the same that I'm doing, augmenting club training sessions with private sessions in multiple locations with multiple coaches. And I've also come to realise that there are coaches out there augmenting their wages, because they don't get paid very much at the various clubs. They're augmenting their wages by offering private sessions with different kids in different locations every week. It's not really a good development environment. So what we've decided to do here at Ashfield is we're not going to wait for our governing bodies to get it right. They've been trying and failing for 20 years now, so we've decided to do this ourselves. We will bring kids, parents and coaches together to maximise their potential. We'll hire the best coaches, invite the best kids in one location, under one roof, in one club, in one academy. We'll be leading the way. But there is an elephant in the room, and we want to address that before we go on any further. Ashfield aren't in the NPL. Okay, so we're not. But if we were in Victoria, we'd probably be one of the clubs that they were talking to as part of their expansion. If I was a parent sat where you are right now, here's a few questions that I would be asking about the fact that Ashfield aren't in the NPL. So Ashfield are a small club. Why should my kid join? Well, Ashfield have been around since 1970. Our senior team's been in the State Division 1 or its equivalent for most of that time. We've never been relegated. We've got a rich history, and our senior team is currently joint top of the State Division 1, and we want to be promoted to the NPL. There's over 70 men playing in the seniors, over 60 women, over 120 juniors, and over 100 non-playing members. So we're not a small club. We're older and have more history and tradition than more than half of the current NPL teams. So we were formed in 1970, Sorrento 72, ECU 92, Rockingham 1970, Balcatta 77, Stirling 71, Armadale, Perth Glory Youth, right? So they're all younger than us. So we're not a small club. The NPL is the top level, right? That's what we're told. And that's what we've been told in the past, but it's a myth. NPL is a standard, it's not a destination. One of the recommendations made as part of Football West's 2017 review of the NPL structure was to start giving NPL accreditation to non-NPL junior clubs, to recognise the great junior development that actually takes place outside of the NPL. To my knowledge, that hasn't been done yet, and that's 2 years. Next question. If my kid is to get anywhere in football, he or she needs to play for an NPL club, right? It's logical, isn't it? Well, that's what we've been told. But again, it's a myth. The new FFA technical director has said that our junior development is not good enough. We're falling further behind the rest of the world. So if it's not good enough, what are we going to do about it? The FFA have formed a committee. Football West have indicated that they're not really going to change anything for the 2020 season until the FFA tell them. So how long is it going to take? The FFA are already making, the FFV, in Victoria, are already making moves to change their system, but is it enough, and will it happen soon enough for your kids and my kids? I don't know. How many top players have been developed by the NPL system and gone on to bigger and better things? The NPL's been around for 8 years, remember, in its current form. Do NPL clubs have... Look, the NPL is a great idea, but its implementation has failed. The FFA recognise its implementation has failed. Do NPL clubs have the monopoly on the best junior development? No, they don't, but the current system has given them a monopoly, and it's failing. So the FFA says so, many people say so, and we say so. A closed shop with no promotion or relegation has bred complacency, and now we have a league where the name of the club is more important, how you look is more important, the stuff you get is more important, and what's best for the development of the kids has been forgotten. Graham Arnold, you probably know who he is, he's the head coach of the Socceroos right now. He's recently employed a genealogist to scour the planet looking for footballers who have some kind of Australian heritage. Apparently he's found a Scottish player, who's got Australian grandparents. What does that say about his faith in our youth development in this country? All right, NPL clubs have the best coaches. Where are we up to, Phil? Okay, NPL has the best coaches, doesn't it? Well, look, there are a lot of good coaches in the NPL, and there's also some not so good ones as well. Some of the best coaches are actually working outside of club football because they're augmenting their or replacing their income in private soccer schools. We've got one of the best development coaches in WA right here. So clearly, the best coaches aren't all working for NPL clubs. NPL are the best at junior and senior development, right? No, they're not. Many NPL clubs are not focused on the junior development. They're focused on the money they get from fees so they can fund senior or other parts of the club. Many clubs have turned their focus away from junior development and just see kids as walking ATM machines. I had a chat with a coach who recently moved. I'll move on from that. Because I think he might be in the room. So I don't want to talk about that. But basically, we're questioning the NPL club's desire. There is a club out there who has basically said they want to win. Do they want to win at all costs? Do they want to win because they want next year's income? I don't really know, right? But the kids move around from club to club every single year, and this club hopping culture, it's not the best for our junior development and environment. Next question, my kid needs to play for an NPL club so that they can play for the senior team and get spotted, right? That's what we want. Well, look, any good talent scout looks everywhere for talent, not just the NPL. I mean, we're in discussion with scouts to come and watch our academy kids here. In fact, just recently, one of the scouts that we have been in discussion with took one of Mitch's players over to Germany and has a club interested in him. So, how many kids have actually been spotted playing for NPL teams? I don't know, and have gone on to bigger and better things. And also, is there really a pathway in most clubs to get into that senior team? In many NPL clubs, there's a block to the senior team. because they buy their first team. This year, for instance, across the whole MPL league, each MPL club on average has brought 4 new first team players before the season started. So there's a glass ceiling here for our kids. All right, next. My kid needs to get into Perth Glory Juniors so they can be an A-League player, right? Well, again, that's the dream that's being sold. But look at the facts. It's a myth. How many players currently play for Glory A-League that have actually been developed through the Glory system? Perth Glory are an obvious step on the development pathway here in WA because they're our professional club. But we actually think we can develop kids better. I'm just going to read you a little extract from a message we got from a parent a day or 2 ago. His son is currently with the Glory in the junior MPL. I believe your academy will be better as it focuses on player development long term. Every existing club potentially has its own problems. Mainly, the clubs are not interested to get quality coaches and reward them properly. When my son was younger, he'd been in several junior MPL clubs. Never had any good experiences until he joined Glory, but we feel Glory has a lot to improve if they want to get the best out of the players. But there's no other academy out there to compete with them, so they tend to be complacent about their approach. He goes on to say, and I'll paraphrase, there are little or no opportunities for the junior kids at Perth Glory. What actually happens is they're bringing kids from outside the Perth Glory system and putting them in the 18s and 20s and the first team instead. My kid needs to play in the MPL to make sure they're playing competitive games at the highest level, right? Well, look, yes, it is true. Some of the best junior teams play in the MPL, but the MPL currently consists of 22 clubs. Most, if you believe what you're being told, struggle to fill those teams with players. We've already seen a couple of clubs this season struggle, particularly in the under-16s competition. This results in players playing in that competition that maybe aren't good enough, and that results in mismatch games, blowout results. First half of the season, teams just play any team. Second half, it's graded. So second half is a bit better, where you're actually getting MPL teams, juniors playing against teams of equal ability, supposedly. So anyway, a 22-game season, you're probably looking at maybe 11 games that are actually competitive. 11 games in a year, right? We're aiming to organise more than that in competitive friendlies outside and over and above the season. Look, Football Federation Victoria have recognised that there's a problem and they're doing something about it. From what I know, Football West are not changing anything for 2020. All right, only the best kids play in the MPL, right? Well, no. There are a lot of kids that don't play Sunday matches because they go to church, so they play in the Christian leagues. There are clubs out there that are specifically known for their junior development programs. I'm thinking Westside, I'm thinking Linwood, places like that. In fact, I was speaking to a parent about 2 weeks ago. Westside have a much better setup and better coaches than the MPL club my son is at. I'll be leaving the MPL club at the end of the season and taking my boy back to Westside. That's what he said. At the start of the evening, I said, you've been invited here because our coaches have identified your kids as some of the best in WA. There are parents here whose kids play for non-MPL clubs, well, Ashfield and other clubs. So in our coach's opinion, and most of you know this guy, so we probably trust his opinion, no, the best kids don't only play for MPL clubs. So they're the kind of things that I would be asking if I was in your position right now. After the end of this presentation, we will pass the microphone around so you can ask your own questions, but we're just trying to kill that elephant in the room before we go on. Okay. All right, so who are we? Who are we to be saying things like this? Who are we to question our governing body and their ability to fix it? Who are we to think that we can actually create something that's new and will address these problems on our own, without the FFA, without Football West telling us what to do, without trickle-down funding, without a rich benefactor to finance the programme? Well, we're Mitch, Andy, Phil, Tess, Julie, sat over there. We're the club, Ashfield, and the board at Ashfield. We're all professionals in our field, and we're pretty good at what we do. So I'd just like to introduce everyone before we go on and tell you about the plan. So first of all, let's introduce the club. As I said, we were established in 1970. We've got 8 hectares of space here on this in this facility. It's ours to use 12 months a year. We don't share it with anybody else, any other sports. This facility with the space was actually chosen by Football West a few years ago to be the site of the home of football. But then the politics got in the way and the government reneged on the $30 million promise or something. So Football West recognised the quality of these facilities. There's a 600 capacity grandstand, and there's obviously a licensed clubhouse with kitchen and function space too. So that's the club. Good facilities and a lot of space. Mitchell Prentice, you probably most of you already know him, but let's go through just a couple of things. First of all, he's FFA A licence in the process of. Part 1's complete. He's got strength and conditioning training to a level 1 at the ASCA. He's also been has got an FFA talent ID course as well, which is in scouting. Between 2017 and 2019, he was the technical director, under 15s head coach, and under 12 head coach at Bayswater City. That's where probably quite a few of you know him. Between 16 and 18, he was also Football West under 14 state team head coach. And before that, for about 5 years, he was also at Perth Glory head coach of their academy under 15s squad. So I've got his CV here. You know, I'll pass it around later on. It's quite a lot, Mitch. Thanks, Lee, for typing it all up, but it's quite big. And in it, it's actually got some players that Mitch has actually coached. Coach of identified players. I'll just list off a few names: Jacob Italiano, Bryce Bradford, Aidan Edwards, Jackson Lee, Orton Ramati, Riley Warland, Dylan Leonard went over East recently, is back now. Jaden Gorman, Josh Rawlins, Aidan Formston, Danny Douglas. The list is, these are the players that have actually gone on to do quite good things. In fact, one of those players on that list is the guy that's went over to Germany, right, I think. So, who are we? My name's Andy Osborne. I am, maybe not good to say this, but maybe that's a deal breaker, but I'm an Everton fan. I've been president of the basketball club. I was president of Forestfield United in the NPL years. I've also been on the State League Standing Committee, and I've also been on the NPL Standing Committee, so I kind of know my way around Football West just a little bit. Just a couple of things that I want to tell you about me, because obviously I'm part of the team here. I mean, whilst I was Forestfield, we got $200,000 lighting grant, which we got in. We got the first team promoted, the juniors promoted both to NPL. We increased sponsorship up to over $100,000 a year. We also increased our player wage budget from $11,000 to $80,000 a year. We didn't use registration fees for that, it was sponsorship alone. We were the first club to sign all of our senior players on professional contracts. We brought international football to Hartfield Park with the first club to live stream. Well, I can go on, right? We did a lot, I did a lot when I was there at Forestfield. And I just want to tell you a little bit of story about the grandstand, actually, because that kind of hopefully lets you know a little bit more about me and the kind of person that I am. 2 months before I actually became president, I put my hand up to go in, a couple of others did as well, so there's going to be an election. I got my hands on the plans for the grandstand. I didn't have anything to do with the funding, that was already in place. The design was already there, and that's what it looked like. Now, it's great, but I noticed a few things and I wanted to change a few things to make it better. So I started playing around on my computer. I started playing around with the ideas that maybe putting actual seats there instead of concrete steps. I was told by several people, don't do it, the design's already fixed. We can't afford to pay any more money, just accept what we're getting given. Anyway, I went to the architects, I went to the council, I presented my ideas, they loved it, they mocked it up, and this is what we actually got built. So we went from concrete steps to an actual proper looking stadium. I'm an engineer by profession, so I managed to save about 20 grand on over engineering, and they actually then chipped in and paid 40 grand for the seats, right? So it didn't actually cost us anything. So that's a little bit about me. I don't accept it when people say no, it's too hard. It can't be done. It can be done. Phil, we've got a photo of Phil on the screen. He's sat right next to me. So now Phil has been at Ashfield since 2011. He was the first team manager. He's from that time to now, he's been vice president, treasurer, chairperson. He's currently chairperson. He was a founding member of the Football Union. This was the people a while ago who were looking at the junior structure in WA. He's been on the State League Standing Committee as vice chair since 2016. He's now actually chair of that committee. He's also been a zone rep for the last 3 years. He's been part of that 2017 NPL review group. You can see he knows his way around the governing bodies of Football West as well. He's been invited to various things for his expertise in the junior field. So that's Phil, myself, Mitch. We've got Tess over here. She didn't want me to put her on the presentation tonight. I'm not sure why. But she's currently the treasurer of Ashfield. She's a financial professional. Julie over there with the blonde hair, you saw her when you came in, when you registered. Julie was my treasurer at the Forestfield for 2 years, so she's a financial professional. So when we're doing something like this, it's not just about getting the right coaches, it's not just about getting the right kids, it's actually getting the right business minds behind it as well, who know how to handle the money, who know how to organise things, and we've got a track record of doing that. Alright, let's walk through the plan. Alright, so what is the plan? It's to have the right coaches. Coaching the right players, teaching them the right things, for the right price, in the right environment. Well, that sounds really simple, doesn't it? Right? But what does right mean? Okay, so let's go through the right coaches. Well, the right coaches are the best coaches that we can afford. In Mitch Prentice, we've got one of the best, if not the best development coach here in WA. He's got a track record of success, and he'll be hand-selecting a team of coaches to work under him. He'll be in full control of the programme across all teams and all age groups. Alright, so who are the right players? Keep up, Phil. Who are the right players? Okay, so the right players are more than people that just want to play for fun. There's nothing wrong with playing for fun, but we're looking for the ones that want to take football as far as they can. They've got to have the drive, dedication, they've got to work hard, listen, learn, give 100% during training and games. The right players are the ones that want to give everything to become professional footballers and conduct themselves professionally at all times. They're going to represent our academy and set the standard for the rest of WA and Australia to follow. The right players are those that have the most potential in WA, and that's why you have all been invited here tonight. Teaching them the right things. It's more than just skills and match training. It's about fitness, it's about strength and conditioning, it's about nutrition, it's about tactics, it's about mental toughness, leadership, team spirit, video analysis, physical testing. NPL clubs don't have time to do this because they don't have enough contact hours with the kids each week. What's the right price? Well, the right price is $0. It is. But we don't receive any trickle-down funding in this country for our sport from our governing bodies. So we have to fund this ourselves through registration fees, sponsorship. In year one, the cost will be $1,500 for the season, plus $600 for a 4-day, for 4 school holiday camps. Each camp is 3 days, plus a $30 club membership. So that's $2,100 a year. That works out to be $4.70 an hour. And we'll go into why it's $4.70 an hour shortly. It's basically because of the increased contact hours with coaches. This compares to what you're currently paying now with your NPL clubs and with Metro clubs between $6 and $8 per hour. Our medium-term goal is to offer scholarships to some players, the ones that will benefit the most, and our ultimate goal is to make our academy free to all players. Okay, what's the right environment? The right environment is a club and coaches who work together to achieve the best possible outcome. Professional business people working with professional football people to deliver a programme that will be unrivalled in WA and probably Australia. The right environment brings parents, players and supporters together in a community, players that stay with us for their full development pathway, parents that feel part of a club and a community, helping, volunteering and working towards a common goal. I think that's a culture that's been lost in the last 8 years with this merry-go-round. Okay, so our academy model is based on professional academies overseas, not on the failing system here in Australia. And you may also have noticed that I've not said boys or men once, I've said kids, and that's because our aim at the Ashfield Academy is to have an elite development pathway for all footballers, so boys, girls, men and women. We aim to be the best at producing the best. Alright, so what's the programme going to look like? What's a week going to look like? What's a year going to look like? Well, it's going to be a 40-week programme. There's going to be 5 sessions a week, each session 1 hour a quarter, 1 hour and a half, 36 matches each season. There'll be 4 3-day school holiday training camps, and that's already included in the price. And that equates to over 450 contact hours with our coaches each year, and that compares to about 180. Some clubs maybe over 200 hours. That's currently the NPL clubs, including Glory, offer. One of the most important things we find for a programme like this is it needs to provide opportunities for our junior players to play in the senior teams. We're calling that our pathway, but we'll go into that a little bit more after this section. We want to develop relationships with scouts and agents and invite them to the games and training and tournaments that we'll host. We also want to encourage our academy participants to remain with the academy for as long as they can, for their full development years, and try and stop the club hopping culture that is ingrained in our current system, which is detrimental to youth development. Training, what's that going to look like? Well, it's a combination of on-field and classroom sessions. It'll include skills acquisition, match tactics, fitness, strength and conditioning, nutrition, mental preparedness, leadership, team building. We said a few of these before. Physical testing 3 times a year, so beep tests, 20-minute sprints, vertical jumps, sit and reach, that kind of thing. There'll be annual player reports and there'll be parent-player interviews and also video analysis as well. Let's move on to the pathway. There's no point in putting all this work in developing the kids if they can't play at the highest level in your club, so they need to be playing for the senior teams. So at Ashfield we believe there should be a real and achievable pathway to the first team. Too many clubs pay lip service to that development pathway and then they buy the first team, so they effectively block the route up. And so our philosophy is to basically create a real pathway. And the way we're going to do that is 2 things. So first of all, our senior coaches, first team, under 20s, under 18s, they will also coach the juniors. So they're not just seeing one set of players, they're actually seeing the youngsters and the older players too. So they'll know the players, they'll know when they're ready, and they'll provide opportunities for those kids when they're ready. Our club philosophy will be that every time there's a first team game, there's going to be minimum 2 under 20s on the card. When there's an under 20s game, there's going to be minimum 2 under 18s on the card. When there's an under 18s game, there's minimum 2 under 16s on the card, right? So on and so forth, right down the line. And we'll make sure that happens. We'll carry a reduced first team squad, so kids will be playing up. This is a commitment that...
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. I just want to interrupt.
Yeah, go on.
Did everyone absorb that comment that Andy just made? Yeah. Because it's a very, very important one. If you ever think about your club right now, does your first team coach know who's in the 15 squad or who's in the 16 squad? Have a think about it. It's a very important step in the process of actually producing a player. And ultimately, they have control of what happens. The first team coach of a football club is firstly very highly qualified, regarded, but if they don't know who's coming through their club, there's a big problem, because ultimately they're selecting the best players for their squad. I know coaches have opinions of players. It should be the first team coach has an opinion of all players, but the way the system works, the first team coach doesn't see these players. So it's a very important one and something that we've discussed at length, because good players get lost in the system and get turfed out of clubs because the under-16s coach doesn't like him or doesn't like his personality. It's wrong. It should be senior coaches, because that's where everyone's headed. So it's something I just wanted to interrupt. Sorry.
No, that's fine.
It's a very, very important point.
Right, so Mitch and I have talked about that a lot. You can see how passionate he is about it. I'm also passionate about it as well, because what's the point in developing kids if they don't get an opportunity to play in the game that they want to be playing ultimately, which is playing against adults, right? So we've actually decided to make it a policy, a philosophy of the academy that we force this on our teams. So we make sure there are at least 2 younger players playing in the next. It's mandated, it will be mandated, and we expect to be challenged on it, right? Our philosophy is if you're good enough, you're old enough. So we at Ashfield Academy will provide an elite development pathway for the sole purpose of developing players who have a chance of making a career in football. We're not a buying club, we won't be buying first team players. We're very definitely a selling club. We want to sell as many of our academy graduates to professional clubs as possible. So that brings us nicely to the financials. This might be the boring bit for some, but it's the important bit too, right? First of all, I do agree with Sharif, the chair of Football West. It needs to be open and transparent. I don't think there's many clubs out there that are open and transparent. Our fees are high, right? But are they? Let's break it down. All right, so we've got a 40% increase in fees to what you're probably paying for right now at NPL and Metro clubs, for over 100% increase in contact hours with our coaches. So the Ashfield Academy costs about $4.70 an hour. Bounce is more expensive. Other NPL clubs currently costing me between $6 and $8 an hour. And that doesn't even include all the private coaching that I'm sending my kid to. Right, so I'm paying probably $3.5, $4 grand a year, let alone this. So you decide. All right, the financials. Well, it is important for us to be open and transparent, and so that's what we're going to do. We don't get any trickle-down money from the FFA. We don't get any trickle-down money from Football West. Nothing from the A-League. So we're funding it ourselves, and you can see our budget and P&L anytime. If you join our academy, just come up to us. We'll send it out to you. We want you to see where all this money's going. In fact, we're going to show you now. All right. So I don't know if you can see the details there, but that's our academy budget. It's a big budget, $300,000, just over $300,000. Bulk of that is coach wages. I think you heard from a couple of people earlier on that. Coaches aren't being paid what they're worth right now. We want the best coaches, so we want to pay to get the best coaches. You can see from this that our fees cover coaches' wages, Football West registration costs, referees' fees, all of the normal things that club does. You'll see there's a sponsorship figure in there of $88,000. That covers our senior players' professional wages. Transparency of figures is very important to us, and as I said, you can see that any time. But having said that, and I'm making it clear here that your fees will go to senior players' wages, but remember, we're one academy. It's not like we're another club here where you've got a junior partner, a senior partner, robbing juniors to pay seniors. This is one academy, so it's all one budget. And at the end of the day, your kids will want to be playing for the senior teams. So it's one budget, but this is how we're augmenting it. A couple of things I will mention. Any surplus that we have from the budget will be rolled over into next year's. The idea is that the more we roll over, the less the fees will become. We can offer scholarships and then ultimately make it free. As our reputation grows, we want to attract some major sponsors and investors to help us offer those full scholarships and to reduce the fees to players, ultimately making it free. Now that's going to take a lot of hard work, but hopefully we've demonstrated we've got the professional business people to go out and make that happen. That's our aim. Alright, so in summary, and then we'll start to throw the mic around and ask a few questions, or answer a few questions, sorry. So there's more contact hours, more effective contact hours with our coaches. There's a better development environment. There's lower cost than current NPL clubs. You've got football professionals working with business professionals as one team. There's no kind of committee versus coaches or anything like that. It's all one team. And the last one, Phil. Real opportunities to play in the senior team. Hopefully we've demonstrated that. Mitch reinforced that. Okay, that's a quote from Michael Phelps. Some of you may know him. He's an American Olympic swimmer. I think one of the best swimmers there's ever been in terms of gold medal counts. And yes, it's true. We are going to have obstacles and we will have doubters. Some of you might be in the room. Hopefully we've dispelled some of those doubts. And there will definitely be mistakes. But we're all prepared to work hard. And if we do, there are no limits. So that's the first part of the full presentation over and done with. We will be putting this, we're recording it right now. We will be putting it on YouTube, so if you wanted to go back and have a look at it, the slideshow will also be on YouTube as well. We can send you those links. The links that are on your phone right now aren't that, because I haven't done it yet. I'll be doing it after tonight. So they'll go on in the next day or two, and then you can feel free to go over and have a look at all those details again. If there is any more information you want, of course, then please feel free to contact Mitch. You can also feel free to contact me directly. Mitch can send you the details.